Hey, welcome to today's conversation. I'm Deidre Sirianni, and today we are going to be diving into the conversation around transforming your trauma, your pain, your wounds into your greatest gifts and how you can actively start to make that happen in your reality. I'm going to be sharing a story of something that happened to me or for me, we could say, about 6 months ago when I was about to step on stage and how I took an old trauma and worked it into a moment of healing. And this is something that we can do every single day in every single way. So, for those of you that don't know too much about me, maybe you're new to the show, maybe you're new to this channel. My name's Deidre Sirianni. I woke up to my spiritual gifts when I was around 20, and I studied trauma and healing and multiple different healing modalities through many different shamans over the past decade. And that's been a huge body of my work for the past decade. I also owned a yoga and wellness company for 8 years. And now I am in the space of coaching and helping people transform their trauma into their greatest gifts and create conscious businesses of impact. So, I just want to give you a little bit of background there so you understand a little bit of what I'm going to be talking about with trauma. And I've also done a TEDx on it that is called Unhealed Trauma, the Root Cause of All Suffering, which you can check out, where I share a trauma that really changed my life and how I use that and turn that into something impactful for others. So, as leaders, as those of us who are here to create some sort of change in the world, whether it's within ourselves, our own transformations, and inspire other people, or put our voice out there on stages and podcasts and, writing books and all the things that I've done and I help people do, is it's really our responsibility to heal our trauma. And when we do, gifts that you can't even imagine start to come online. It is absolutely wild, my friends. And it's something that I'm super passionate about because when we have the courage to actually heal the wounds show us the gems. They show us all of these gifts that we have of opportunities for expansion, opportunities for more freedom, self expression, our creative gifts. Like every single program, every single thing that I've created has come from a trauma. And maybe I'll just start talking on that to start. And then I'll talk about the event that happened about 6 months ago around reprogramming a trauma that involved, I'm going to give you a little preview if you are watching this on YouTube, a gold sparkly dress. That is a teaser that I'm going to be sharing for later on the show. I will probably end this episode with talking about this dress. But first, let's talk about trauma and healing. So back in I don't even know, like maybe 2017-ish, or 2018, I don't know, somewhere around there. 2017 maybe, something like that. 2016, not really sure. Let's just throw a number out there. We'll say 2016. Just do it. We're just committing to it, okay? It might be off by a year, but we're putting it out there. So, around that time, I got into this accelerated evolution process of healing trauma. And I thought that I had healed some of my deepest traumas. I had gone to Landmark, I had done a lot of personal development work. You name it, I've done it. I studied with shamans, I learned the language of the soul, all of these things. And maybe I'll do an episode just on the language of the souls, on the soul, and some things that I learned. That will be probably the next episode, okay? So putting that in for the next episode. So I did all this healing work and it was really impactful on so many different levels, but there was something missing. And so I was in a training with one of my past mentors, Raja, and we were learning this thing called a trauma release. And I was like, oh, I don't even know like what trauma to release or what trauma to work with, right? So I picked the trauma of being raped when I was 19 years old that I talk about in my TEDx live on stage. And so if you Google that, you look that up, you will hear more about that story and the teachings on that. And so I was like, okay, I guess I will do this trauma release, even though I am so empowered, I am so over it, I'm an independent woman, it doesn't impact me anymore. All of that stuff is where I was at. So I do this trauma release. And in the process of doing the trauma release, it was like an accordion was stretched out. And I was able to see all of the moments in my life over the past decade to that point where I had all these micro traumas, all these moments I said no when I wanted to say yes, all these moments I said yes when I wanted to say no. All of these decisions that I had made over the past decade from that original, bigger trauma that I experienced, how it impacted the way I dressed, the way I spoke, shame I had, how I wasn't able to really look at men in the eyes without feeling uncomfortable. Like all of these little nitty gritty things um, came from that trauma. And I didn't recognize the impact of that trauma until I did this trauma release process. And when I did that trauma release process, I was free from it, but I also saw the impact of all the micro traumas. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has been impacting me on so many levels, dimensions, times, and spaces and realities, that this empowerment that I was in was kind of just a step on the healing journey, but it definitely was not the completion of the piece around trauma. And then I started to geek out on trauma. And then I started to teach on trauma. I started to speak in front of therapists and counselors. I started to speak in high schools. I started to speak in different places around the impact of trauma and how it's our responsibility to heal it and how we can actually get to the root of it pretty quickly and do a lot of the deeper healing work with it. So, this trauma release process is one of the processes that I have in my tool belt when I'm working with clients on helping them transform their past into their gifts and create businesses of impact, whether that's scaling their business, writing books, getting booked on stages, stepping into their voice, their power, all of those things. And so at the time, me actually having that light bulb moment, turning my light on, which is what I talk about in my book, Turn Your Light On, but waking up to the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to know about this. Everyone needs to know about this because it changed my life. I started showing up differently. I started walking differently. I started talking differently. I started to feel different. And suddenly, it became my mission at the time to help people understand that unhealed trauma is the root cause of all suffering, but it's a choice. And so from this point now we're in 2024. We're not in 2016 or 2017 anymore, right? Different timeline. Now, I understand trauma on a different level, that yes, we can heal the root cause very quickly, but also there are gifts in the experience, in the trauma, in the moment, in the times, and some of those things don't go away. The gifts don't go away. When we experience a trauma, when you've experienced a trauma, it's shown you something about yourself, the world, others. And as a result, as humans, we create these coping mechanisms, we create these superpowers, we create these skills and these ways of being. And a lot of them come from a wound. And we could say, oh, no, it's a wound. And yes, it might be a wound, but also there's superpowers in it. I know for a fact that because I experienced certain traumas in childhood and in my adulthood, I'm able to see and feel things differently than maybe people who have not experienced those things, right? So, there are gifts in every trauma that we have because we, in some ways, turn into a different version of ourselves. Sometimes we like that version of ourselves, sometimes we don't. And there's different layers of healing to this. And I could talk about this for days, and maybe we'll have like Gabor Mate or another a high level expert in the space of trauma come on the show and talk about it in a later season once the show has been out there for some time, because I think it would be really great to go a lot deeper into that. And so anytime I'm teaching, anytime I'm talking, anytime I'm sharing, coaching, all those things, I talk and teach from personal experience, things I've been through. And then I teach and talk from experiences that other people have had that have revealed certain gifts and experiences within their life. So, for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to talk mainly about my experience. So, I experienced a trauma that I thought I was over. I was in the empowerment stage of healing, which is not the end game. And then I went to the root and I healed it. And so now those things that were ways of being, ways I would step away from myself, betray myself, not fully show up as my authentic self, those don't really show up anymore in that arena, in that category. But the gifts around that trauma and the discernment around that trauma, which is a gift, right? And the life experience of going through that has completely changed my life for the better. And because of that, I've been able to serve so many people and having these conversations around trauma and the impact in that TEDx that has reached over 40,000 people. So this is the power of healing our trauma. It reveals our gifts. So for me, one of my missions has been to wake people up to who they are and who they're meant to be. And it's really about waking myself up in the process of self-discovery and then teaching what I'm learning and helping people through their journey. So for me, healing that trauma and going to the root of it through that trauma release process was really a game changer for me because it showed me all of the ways that I had blocked myself. And so, am I saying that one process can absolutely heal everything about a trauma? No, because there's complex trauma, there's a lot of different types of trauma and experiences. But what I can say from my experience of doing that work with trauma with myself, but also with clients in the past, many, many, many clients, over 100 clients, is that it creates a new level of freedom. It reveals the gifts and also shows you discernment, and also, in many cases, reveals what you're here to do and how to operate your life from a place of being more in alignment and discernment. And so, this is the gift of healing the trauma. This is the gift of doing that courageous work. And I know so many people who are out there sharing great work in the world because they've taken the time to heal the trauma and reveal the gifts. And when we're in it, when we're activated, when we're feeling all the feelings, it can be very challenging to see the gifts, um, feel the gifts, or even want to look at them. And so there's different stages of healing on that. And we have a whole conversation about that. But for the purpose of this conversation and this episode, we're going to continue to move on past it. So it's really interesting that our traumas have the power to reveal our greatest gifts. So that's one example of a trauma. I turn it into a gift. I start teaching on it. I start educating it. I start to feel called to go into high schools and be on different shows and write a book and talk more about the importance of transforming it, but also what's available on the other side. And when I've worked with many of my clients in the space of purpose coaching and business, a lot of the time, what people have healed becomes what they want to teach. Not always, but a lot of the time, yes. A lot of the time, it is that. So, the trauma of that made me do a TEDx and talk a lot about trauma and understand how we can get in our own way with our goals, with our purpose. I wrote the book Turn Your Light On, which I do talk a bit about trauma in the book, definitely not the whole thing. But I really started to get a deeper scope of how we operate as humans and the things that get in the way as we are going after our dreams, our callings, our higher purpose, and all of these initiations that we go through. And I truly believe that traumas and wounds are initiations that reveal our next level of opportunity, our next level of self, which is so exciting. It's such an exciting place to be. So, another experience that I had, and I'm not going to, this isn't a therapy session, but it is something where I just want to reveal and share how we can shift and how we can turn anything into a gift for ourselves and others. Was I was in in a relationship for 8 years where my body started shutting down and I lost a chunk of hair. I had 4 different types of autoimmune disease the doctors couldn't help me with. I had chronic pain in my neck and shoulders. I was depressed to the point of having a vision of wanting to end my life. And the crazy thing about it was from the outside looking in, I was the happiest person that everyone knew. I was bubbly, I was outgoing, I was social, I was, successful, I had opportunities, but on the inside, my body was yelling at me. And I will do an episode called, the body wisdom or something around body wisdom and talk more about all of that. But I went through this experience, this wake up call, one of my many wake up calls. I've had more than one. And my body was shutting down, and I had a choice to make. I could continue on the path I was on, or I could do something differently. And I chose a different path. I went down the path of healing, of revealing what needed to be seen, and also studying deeper with shamans and taking radical responsibility and action. And that was a huge piece of the puzzle of this healing journey and getting into that trauma release process of becoming a coach and everything that I've done now. And in that relationship, I was in a relationship where it was not safe to be myself. And I did not want to look at that. So, guess what? My body was speaking for me. And so, because I went through that, now I'm able to understand the language of the soul, which I'll talk about more in a next another episode, the next episode that I share. And because of that, I'm able to recognize things in other people's bodies and also see it in energetic patterns and frequencies and identify very specific things very quickly in others as an intuitive. So there are gifts in our pain. So whatever you're going through right now or in the past, what is a gift? What is a lesson that you've learned from it? What has it revealed about you? Who have you become because of it? What do you have more discernment and wisdom as a result of going through that? And what are you potentially here to share with others? This is the gift of trauma. This is the gift of pain. This is the gift of our wounds. Another experience that I had was years ago. I was in a different relationship, not the one I just mentioned, a different relationship. And it was a devastating breakup. It was like the worst, like D crying on the floor. Um, Partner moved out. He was cheating on me and I was devastated. And if you've ever been cheated on, it sucks. It sucks, especially like if you're in love with the person and you want to make it work, but you know that holding on is just going to cause more pain. So after that relationship ended, I made a vow to myself that I was going to be single for a year. That vow to be single for a year quickly turned into 4 years of healing and really understanding what I was looking for and really reprogramming what I was attracted to. And I started to take that pain and turn it into music. I started to write my own music. And just this last year, I had a song come out that's called Touch My Skin. And it's not about that particular relationship, but I've created a whole album on relationship because I've transformed that pain, the heartbreak that I've experienced into music. And that was so healing for myself. But whenever I share this music with others, it's so healing for others. So every single thing that we through, guys, is an opportunity for our own evolution, our own growth, and also gifts on the other side of it. And trauma is a thing that happens, and I really do feel that we can make it something that happens for us based on what we do with it. We can wallow in it, we can sit in it, we can feel the pain, and there will be times where we are in that, and that is a part of the human experience. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows and all of that, but there also is a time where it's like, okay, well, now what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this life experience? Am I going to sit with it? Am I going to feel bad about it? Am I going to feel sorry for myself and tell everyone what's happened to me to be a victim of my reality? Or am I going to take it and I'm going to do something great with it? And I think that is really what embodied leadership. I really do feel like that's what the awakening is about. It's not just about, yeah, waking up to reality, the truth of what's going on in the world, but it's about how are we going to contribute to that change? How are we going to show up? How are we going to transform our pain, our trauma, the things that we are not happy with that have caused us pain and do something with it, right? And that's the stuff that really excites me. And that's why I love helping people write books, write their talks, get on stages, grow their businesses that are information based, that are course based, that are in the coaching space, because this wisdom, these experiences have happened to you so that they can work for you so that you can bring that gift to more people. So that is where so many gifts are revealed if you choose to do something with it. And if that's something that excites you, let's have a conversation. Reach out to me and we can see if a program or offering is aligned for you. Okay. So now let's get to the nitty gritty of it. Nitty gritty of it. Let's get to the nitty gritty of the conversation. I mean, I think we've had a bit of a conversation already, but I want to share a specific moment in time experience that happened for me that was really impactful. And I really do believe that visions that we have of ourselves it's our higher self giving us a message that this is for you. This is available to you if you take massive action. If you ever had a vision of something that you want to step into and create and do, that is your higher self saying, hey, this is a possibility. Can you meet me there? Can you take this action? Can you show up for me? And can we co-create this reality? Because that's what manifestation really is. It's about the vision, it's about the feeling, and it's also about you moving that forward and taking massive action. So I was at a retreat about a year ago, actually exactly a year ago when I'm recording this. I was at a retreat and I had a vision of myself being on stage wearing a gold sparkly dress. Okay. I already owned the gold sparkly dress. I'm holding it right here. If you can see it, it's kind of like a Beyonce dress. It's like, I don't know. It's like, damn, you see the dress? I love this dress. Okay. So I had a vision of me on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people with a guitar in my hand and I was singing. Okay. So that's the vision that I had. And this retreat that I was at, literally, I think it was like a week before I was going to one of these events that I was speaking at. And I had that event that I was at the retreat I was a part of. And then right after I was going to this event. And so I was packing up my suitcase. I had a small suitcase. I was going out to I was flying. It was only a, few day trip for this event that I was speaking at. And randomly, I just throw this sparkly dress in my suitcase. I just take it, I throw it in there. It was not something I was planning on wearing, and it was not really the type of event where you wear a sparkly gold dress. It just was not really the vibe, if you know what I'm saying. No one was wearing sparkles at this event, okay? So, I had this sparkly dress in my suitcase for no good reason. It was just like my higher self was just like, we're just throw it in there. So I just threw it in there, and I went to this event, and I was a speaker on maybe the last day. I forget, it was either the second last day or the last day of the event. And that morning, I was in my hotel room. Okay, about 30 minutes before I need to go on stage, and I had a white outfit that I packed for my outfit to be on stage. I was like, this is the outfit I'm gonna wear on stage. It was just like this white, cute outfit. I think I had like white heels. It was what I was gonna wear. It was what I planned on wearing. And so I open my suitcase and I'm about to get changed to go downstairs to go to the stage and, speak on stage. And I am like, oh, I packed the sparkly dress. Huh. Do I wear the sparkly dress? Do I not wear the sparkly dress? Do I wear the sparkly dress? Do I not wear the sparkly dress? Back and forth, back and forth. Do I wear the sparkly dress or do I wear the white outfit? And I was in this dilemma back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So much so that I called my friend David, an old coach of mine, a guy that used to coach me. And I was like, David, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. Do I wear the dress? Do I not wear the dress? Do I wear the dress? Do I not wear the dress? Back and forth. And, David was calm. He was like, you know what, Dean? I understand that, you feel like you might want to wear the sparkly dress, but you sound really anxious. And guys, I was freaking out. I don't know what it was, but I was in the moment. I didn't know what it was, but I'm going to share with you exactly what it was later because it definitely had to do with the trauma. Okay. He's like, you know what, Dee? I think you shouldn't wear the dress. I think that you are way too activated to wear the dress. And that I think it's just maybe you should wear the dress at a future event because your nervous system, you're just way too stressed out about it. And I was really anxious, guys, like super anxious. Like I was having a little meltdown in my in my hotel room. And like, yeah, do I have a hard time finding outfits for events to wear? Sure. But not like this. This was a little bit different. This was a different type of crazy that I was experiencing. Usually it's like, oh, do I wear these shoes or these shoes? But this was different. This is a different feeling. So I get off the phone with him and he's like, don't wear it. Like, you're freaking out. You need to chill. Like, you're speaking in 20 minutes. Just like wear the safe outfit. So I put on a safe outfit and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, if I wear this outfit, I am playing small. I am not being my true self because I know that I actually want to wear that outfit, this sparkly Beyonce outfit. So I took off the white outfit. I put the sparkly outfit on. I put on big heels and I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, this is me. And it was so healing. And the reason why this came up, why I believe my higher self showed me, made me pack it, even though that wasn't the event that I saw myself singing at, 'cause I wasn't singing at this event, I was speaking at it. And I threw the sparkly dress in my suitcase, was because I was supposed to heal this trauma around being too much, around being a bright light, around shining my light in the world. So I go downstairs. Again, this isn't the type of event where people were wearing sparkles or dressed up. It was kind of like a casual business event, but good amount of people there, a few hundred people or so. And I'm backstage and I literally am like, I look like a sparkle globe. And I'm just like, I need to wear this dress for whatever reason. So I get on stage. And a big part of the work that I do, for those of you that know my work, is I help people turn their light on and shine bright in the world and share their work, share their message, share their magic, right? That's what I help people do. And I get on stage and I say, when was the last time you were told that you were too much or you didn't feel safe to shine? And then I told the story around the last time I wore this sparkly dress. The last time I wore this sparkly dress outside of that time on stage, like 6 months ago at that event, I was with my ex-boyfriend from over 5 years ago, and he was being so mean to me. He was being so mean to me. He, I don't remember exactly what happened, but he like pushed me. And every time that I was shining my light and I was out there and I was being my true authentic self and dressing like I like to dress in sparkles or whatever, he would make fun of me and put me down. And I didn't realize it until that moment when I was in my hotel room back and forth about the white outfit or the sparkly dress and having a bit of a freak out on the phone with David that, oh my gosh, this has really impacted me. And like, how often and how much have I been stepping away from really shining my light and sparkling in the world and being too much? And then I started to notice that, oh wow, since that relationship ended, which was like 5 years prior, I have had a tendency of not wearing the outfit, of not doing the thing, of trying to blend in more because that was a trauma. So I wore the dress, I got on stage, I told the story, and then I talked about transforming your trauma into your greatest gifts. So why am I sharing a story around the dress? People might just be like, oh, it's just a dress. No, it was so much more than a dress. It was around my identity, feeling safe around being seen and shining my light, and also reprogramming the story of wearing sparkles and shining my light. So I was reprogramming that story from wearing the dress on stage in front of hundreds of people, and also feeling and knowing that it's safe to shine. And this is one of the ways that we can reprogram our traumatic experiences, our wounds, is by getting back into situations or moments that could be similar to a past trauma or experience, but where you're safe and where you have that higher wisdom to show up anyways. And that was a moment on stage in front of a large amount of people where I was reprogramming that and I was having the conversation with the audience. And we did an exercise together that was around taking your traumas and finding the gifts. And so if you are not driving, or even if you are driving, you can just think about it. But if you're not driving and you're, in your home, or you have something to write down, I want you just to think about some of the things that have happened in your life. Big, small, doesn't really matter. You don't even have to get super analytical with it. And just ask yourself, what happened when this thing happened to me, from like an overview perspective? What was the belief system that I created from this experience that I had? And what is the superpower or gift that I've learned as a result of it? And what do I want to choose to believe anyways? Okay. So, what happened? What was the thing that happened? Right. For me, it was like I wore this dress and with my ex boyfriend, right? Over 5 years ago, I wore this dress, was the thing that happened. And he was really mean to me and put me down and called me too much and all these other things. Right. And what I believed from that experience that I wasn't fully even aware of until that morning when I was freaking out in, the dressing room before going on stages, it's not safe to shine. If I shine, I'm going to be attacked. I'm going to be rejected. And when I think about it, there was more than one occasion in my life where that happened to me, but that was relevant with the dress. And in that moment of like, okay, this is initiation to shine and be okay with, being out there in that way. And that I don't have to blend in. And then the next thing is, so what happened? What did you believe to be true? And what were the superpower that you learned as a result of that experience? My superpower is as a result of that experience and of having those experiences of being rejected or, whatever the thing happened, the story that I had around it's not safe to shine was I got really good at just kind of blending in of like, oh, I'm shining. I got really good at just like being beneath the surface, which is interesting because that can be a superpower in certain environments and the awareness of self enough to be able to do that. So that was interesting. And then the last piece of the process that I hope you're writing this down, or you can come back to this podcast episode, or you can go to the Turn Your Light On, my Turn Your Light On book that's available on Amazon. I go through a lot more processes like this, or my 8-week signature course, where we do a lot of reprogramming around limiting beliefs and things that get in our way from shining our light. The last question here is, what do I want? What am I choosing to be real instead? So what do I choose to be real instead? What is the story that I want to believe now? And so the story that I'm wanting to believe now, which is I was on stage with this dress at like a sparkling globe at the event, was it's safe to shine and it's actually my birthright and this is what I'm here to do. And by doing it, I'm giving other people permission to do it. And because of that trauma, because of those experiences, because of those struggles, and that I was able to go on stage and share that story, I had a lot of women come up to me after and say, thank you for giving me permission. I tend to do this and this and this because of this experience or that experience. And it started to liberate women in the audience. And women started to have conversations with me around how men have told them they're too much and how they try to blend in and they've like forgotten who they are and their identity in a lot of ways. So it was really powerful. So I hope that this conversation has been beneficial for you. Today, we're talking about reprogramming your trauma, how trauma reveals our greatest gifts. And it's really the opportunity to show up and go deeper within ourselves and see the initiations that are for us so that we can create a change within our life, a change within our community, a change within the world. And I'd love to hear how this episode resonated with you. If you're on YouTube, please comment below. If you are listening to it on one of the platforms, we'd love for you to subscribe and also leave a review. And for anyone who leaves a review on the show on one of our platforms, if you take a screenshot and you email that screenshot to hello@radicallyaligned.com, you will be entered into win a book. Turn Your Light On book sent to you, as well as potentially entered and potentially win the Turn Your Light On 8-week program. So if you write a review for this show, for this episode or any of the episodes, and you take a screenshot of that and you send us an email, you will be entered in to win the 8-week program, Turn Your Light On, and you will get a copy of the Turn Your Light On book, because it's time to wake up to the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be. And healing our trauma and revealing our gifts is such a powerful part of the journey. All right, sending you so much love, and I look forward to jamming in the next episode with you on the language of the soul. And I'm going to be talking about my spiritual awakening. We're going to be talking about spiritual awakening. We're going to be talking about the language of the soul, and how you can start to talk and listen to your soul to heal different parts of your physical, mental, and emotional self. And it's such a gift. It's changed my life, and I can't wait to share that episode with you next. Big love.